tonight. A dramatic rescue in Turkey today with the help of Canadian search crews who are continuing to look for survivors of the devastating earthquake. Also, a Syrian family in Saskatoon is hoping Canada will reunite their family after nearly 6 years apart. Plus, a figure skating duo from Saskatchewan has grown closer after loss. Their focus now set on the ISU World Junior Figure Skating Championships in Calgary.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, February 10th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. It has been a tense day in eastern Saskatchewan after a fatal break-in at a home near Esterhazy. Alexander Kwan brings us the latest.
RCMP have asked residents in southeast Saskatchewan to remain vigilant after a break-in this morning turned deadly. Shortly after 4 a.m., Mounties were called to a home south of Esterhazy. They believe 3 people broke into a home. And while RCMP remained tight-lipped, we now know that the man who lived at that home died while a woman was injured. Police say the suspects stole at least 1 gun as well as the homeowner's vehicle, which was later found down a grid road on fire. So far, police haven't put out any descriptions of the suspects. As a precaution, Good Spirit School Division placed 4 of its schools under a hold and secure protocol, which is when there is an emergency outside but unrelated to a school. Cowessess First Nation and Skimay First Nation also took precautionary measures. Police are asking anyone with information to come forward. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
For the second time this week, a young man has died in a provincial jail. The most recent happened at Regina's Correctional Centre. The Ministry of Corrections, Policing and Public Safety is providing few details, but it said in a statement it doesn't look like foul play and the death is not related to COVID. What we do know is that a 19-year-old man was found unresponsive in his cell around 4 a.m. this morning. Staff tried to save his life, but were not able to. The government is not saying how long the man was in jail or why, only that he was on remand, which means he'd been charged with an offense but had not been convicted. There have now been 9 deaths in provincial jails since the start of last year. One advocate says mental health and drugs behind bars are issues that need to be dealt with.
There's a lot of issues, and I think that if somebody doesn't start, addressing some of the issues that the men and women inside face, it's just going to get worse and worse, and we're just going to see a lot more deaths. And I mean, some people are going to say, "Oh yeah, who cares? They're in jail. Who cares? If you do the crime, you do the time." But if they're on remand and they're dying, in a sense, we can't really say that because nobody, I don't think, deserves to die in jail. But they haven't even been put before a judge, so they're still innocent.
A Syrian family in Saskatoon is hoping Canada will reunite their family in the wake of the catastrophic earthquake in Syria and Turkey. More than 22,000 people have died as a result of the earthquake and aftershocks. Canada's immigration minister has signaled Ottawa may fast-track immigration applications from people in the earthquake zone. As Bonnie Allen reports, that's giving new hope that a 10-year-old boy may get to see his parents again after nearly 6 years apart.
From his Saskatoon home, Wafik Karsa speaks to his brother Mohammed in southern Turkey. Mohammed, his wife, and their small daughter are Syrian refugees who live on the edge of the earthquake zone. He sent pictures of the cracks in the walls of their apartment. Wafik hopes they're approved to come to Canada soon.
I hope the government look at it and make it very quick, because it's really so bad there.
The earthquake and humanitarian crisis are more reasons, he says, to bring the family to Canada, where their 10-year-old son Adnan is waiting for them. Adnan arrived in Saskatoon 2 years ago, but the 10-year-old boy has been separated from his parents for nearly 6 years, forced apart by the Syrian war.
I think the compelling argument has always been their separation from their young son. But given the situation and the circumstances of their city right now, I think it's really urgent that they get here as soon as possible.
Immigration Minister Sean Fraser has signaled that Canada may fast-track existing immigration applicants from the earthquake zone.
Some could be very severely impacted. Some may be in a region that has not suffered the same impact as a result of the earthquake. We're gathering facts as we speak to understand the impact of clients who are in the system to figure out what more we can do.
So this is my basement where we have been storing a lot of the things we've been collecting for the Karza family.
Kyla Avis heads a refugee sponsorship group that is ready to welcome the family.
Love seats, beds, couches.
She received an email from the Immigration Department asking for more information to possibly expedite the Karza's case.
It's really sad that something this devastating is actually giving a spark of hope. So now we're hoping and anxiously waiting and preparing for the possibility that they could be in here within weeks.
Hopefully it's go by a quick time because it's really dangerous there.
For now, the worrying and the waiting continue. Bonnie Allen, CBC News.
Some good news to brighten the weekend. Statistics Canada reports a whopping boost to the economy, with 150,000 new jobs added last month. Most of those were full-time jobs in the wholesale, retail, healthcare and manufacturing sectors. In addition, wages are up 4.5% over the last year, and the unemployment rate is holding steady at 5%. All this to say, the labor market is surpassing most economists' expectations. The pandemic has taken its toll on airports across the country. 3 years in, some of them are laden with debt and continue to sputter, while others are thriving again. Kyle Bax looks at how airports are faring financially and that impact on travelers.
Passengers keep rolling through the doors at Calgary's airport. The numbers of travelers is soaring and is expected to reach pre-pandemic levels this year with upwards of 18 million passengers.
We're really happy. I mean, we're the most recovered airport, certainly of the large airports.
It's the envy of the industry since most airports are hurting financially. Canadian airports operate as not-for-profits. During the pandemic, those organizations took on more than $3 billion in debt as the user fees from passengers and planes dried up.
This user pay works fine, but when we went into the pandemic, there were no users.
Smaller airports are struggling the most, like Kamloops and Saskatoon. In Fort McMurray, the number of flights and passengers is still dismal. The airport is running a deficit, dipping into reserves, and carrying more than $160 million in debt.
We do what we can to try to maintain our fee structure, but when all else fails, if we need to raise that top-line revenue growth, we will have to look at raising those fees.
Those passenger fees are on the rise. Toronto's Pearson International Airport hiked theirs to $35 per ticket. Regina will begin charging more in April. In Calgary, the airport is not considering a hike. Those in the industry say technology and other improvements could help keep those costs in check.
Facial biometrics, self-boarding, self-bag drops. They're low cost, they're low-hanging fruit, and they make a ton of sense.
Every year, airports pay rent to the federal government to use public land. The industry is now asking Ottawa to reinvest those payments back into airport improvements for the next decade. Kyle Bax, CBC News, Calgary.
People from the trans community are launching a peer mentorship program for trans girls and women in Regina. It's called Into the Streets. Kat Haynes is behind the project. She says growing up, trans visibility in Regina was lacking, and that's resulted in many documented cases of harassment and violence against trans people. Haynes says this new program will help build inclusion and break down barriers by helping trans girls make positive changes in their communities.
But also to help them build their CVs and to help build some of those hard skills that can make them really desirable employment candidates and that can make them able to have some of those skills necessary to go out into the world and navigate it.
Haynes says the program will pair 4 to 5 youth peer mentors with experienced community advocates, organizers, and leaders. The mentors will be paid. Haynes hopes this can help shape community leaders of tomorrow. Well, the city of Saskatoon says its greenhouse facility, built back in 1958, has reached the end of its life. The greenhouse provided plants for all of the city's flower pots, flower beds, and indoor greenery. The problem? Structural concerns, because it's old and uniquely designed. In a statement, the city says that does not mean the end of the flowers and plants around Saskatoon. They have secured a private contractor to handle the seasonal plants for the 2023 season. And later this year, city administration will bring a report back to City Council with details on longer-term recommendations for the future of the greenhouse program. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. A figure skating duo training out of Regina has set its focus on more international success. Ashlyn Schmitz is from Shellbrook. Tristan Taylor is from Wolseley, and the pair will compete later this month at the ISU World Junior Figure Skating Championships in Calgary. After a tough 2022, losing Schmidt's grandmother and Taylor's father, they say competing in front of a Canadian crowd will mean a lot.
I got started in figure skating about 15 years ago now, when I was 5 years old. My sister Emma was a figure skater, and I was kind of brought along to some of the sessions just with my mom, just watching. And I saw a pair team that skated a few years ago from Saskatchewan who went to the Sochi Olympics, Rudy and Paige, and I saw them and then told my mom I wanted to join. Once I started, I just thought it was a lot of fun to try all these little tricks and flips and spins and stuff. I was playing hockey at the time. And I ultimately chose this. We just I honestly just enjoyed it more.
I'm from a small town, so there wasn't a lot of figure skating. My parents kind of just put me in learn to skate when I was little, and I really liked watching it on TV, so I was a little bit obsessed from a young age.
Ashlyn is really nice to work with. She is very opposite to me in a lot of ways. We kind of balance each other out nice. This is our 5th season together. So we started young, and so now we're kind of both growing up a little bit, and it's just been really nice to get to know someone while I'm out here.
I get less nervous and stressed knowing that I'm not out there alone.
So I lost my father in September, so kind of having to deal with that throughout the season's been it's been a big challenge for sure. But skating has been a nice outlet for me, and here we are headed to Worlds, so we're really excited for that.
It's been tough. We both struggled through it, and I think it helped our skating because we were able to come to the rink and let go a little bit.
It's honestly nice to have someone to talk to. Sometimes when you're just skating alone, it gets a little bit lonely, but you can have someone to kind of bounce ideas off of, someone to kind of interact with while you're out here.
Obviously competing, you get super nervous, but then once you're done, you're like, that was so much fun.
We just wanted to have a good showing here at our first World Championships, and then just seeing where it takes us.
This weather update is brought to you by the Capital Automotive Group. Trade and upgrade is on now.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. I have to wonder, will the outdoor skating rinks live to see Monday with all this warm weather?
Yeah, I think a few of them will be turning to puddles after this weekend for sure, Sam. Definitely a very warm start to the month, and we have the data to back it up. In fact, in these first 10 days of February this year, a lot of us really across the province seeing average temperatures hovering around the -4 to -7 mark. You compare that to first 10 days of February we've had in the past. You look at 2021 when a lot of us were sitting between -15 and -20 for the first 10 days. Even colder in 2019 during the first 10 days of February. We averaged only around -21 to -24. So we are seeing a nice warm break this year in comparison to the last few. And this warm front is really helping to bump up temperatures in southwestern Saskatchewan, especially this afternoon. We have a cold front which is pulling down a little bit of some cold air into the north, sitting around -17 right now in Collins Bay. Trapped between the warm and the cold air is portions of the northern grain belt and the Churchill region. You're sitting in kind of the freezing to -5 range right now. But a lot of us in the south, as you can see, still sitting well above freezing right now, including in Maple Creek, still at 6 degrees. But we are paying for that warmth in the south of the province with a little bit of wind, and we've seen some gusts close to 60, 70 kilometers an hour this afternoon. Still quite breezy along the number 1 corridor between Regina and Swift Current. And that is because of this low pressure system, which is bringing in some snow to northern sections of the province. We're starting to see it now move into western sections of the Churchill region. Keep in mind, no radar coverage in the eastern section, so it's likely snowing in that part of the province right now. Just can't see it. Now, that low pressure system going to be moving out through the night tonight. We'll see some clearing tomorrow through southern Saskatchewan. Once again, a nice sunny day, but then another low pressure system making its way in late tomorrow night and early into Sunday morning through the far north of the province. The south still clear as we get into Sunday, and then another low pressure system moving in through the north again early on Monday morning, which will be bringing a little bit more snowfall. Could be some mixed precipitation through areas like Meadow Lake and even Prince Albert eastward to the Manitoba border from there. We are looking for amounts, maybe another 5 to 10 centimeters. I think 15 is a little much for La Ronge until tomorrow morning. And then we have a couple of systems, as I mentioned, impacting the far north over the next few days, a few centimeters early Sunday morning. And then that other system moving in early Monday could bring 5 to 10 to far northern Saskatchewan. We'll see some pretty strong gusts tonight in southern Saskatchewan, but those are going to dissipate through the day tomorrow. And then as we head through Sunday and Monday, we're going to see them pick up a little bit, especially in southwestern Saskatchewan early on Monday morning. Over the next few days in Regina, though, I think sunshine and above normal conditions will be the story, even with overnight lows staying quite warm. A little bit of a cool down and some snow possible as we head into the beginning of next week. And Saskatoon, same thing. Maybe a little bit breezy, as I mentioned on Sunday. Some increasing cloudiness as we head into the beginning of next week. But I think there's a 100% chance, Sam, of people getting out and enjoying the weekend because it'll be quite nice.
A 100% chance. That is an Ethan fun guarantee?
That's right. That's a seal of approval right there.
All right, we're going to trademark that.
Okay.
Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
You're always wondering as an artist, what's next? What's the next, envelope you could push it to, and you being a part of the NFL Super Bowl events is just amazing. And now I'm here doing this, and I'm wondering where else.
People from Saskatchewan have someone local to cheer for at the Super Bowl on Sunday. Patrick Mitsuing, a member of the Cree-Makwasagaken First Nation, will shine a spotlight on Indigenous culture through a series of performances leading up to and during the big game. The NFL will also, for the first time in 56 Super Bowls, recognize the Indigenous land on which the game is taking place. Mitsuing says he's focused on putting on a captivating welcome showcase at the State Farm Stadium for an expected turnout of 70,000 fans on Sunday. Game time, 5:30. We'll be back after the break. Four days after an earthquake devastated southern Turkey and northern Syria, deaths have now passed 22,000, but search crews continue to find survivors. A dramatic rescue came earlier today in the Turkish city of Adıyaman. A woman was pulled alive from the rubble of a destroyed building with Canadian help. Briar Stewart has this report from the scene.
They've asked us for some of assistance with our search cam because we see that now they're going across and down.
It really is remarkable when you think about how many days it's been and the fact that there is a woman trapped in there, and rescuers have made contact with her. We understand that they've given her food and water, but in terms of actually extracting her from the building, it's very difficult and precarious work. They brought her out, and it's hard to see because they're actually kind of huddled over her. She's on the ground on the stretcher and doing some, kind of basic stabilization. We know, oh, here she comes down here. Again, just an incredible moment. This happened Monday. She's been in that building for days, freezing cold. She could hear rescuers obviously trying to get to her, and now she has been freed. The latest survivor of this earthquake. Really just a miraculous thing to see. How does it feel to bring her out?
I am happy We are happy.
You've been here now for a number of hours watching this unfold. What is it like to finally see the moment of her coming out?
Oh, it's incredible. It's such a rare event that you actually have somebody that can survive these conditions, and the team effort here was really something else to really take out the person who was trapped there. So it's something else.
They grabbed her from underneath, right?
Yes.
Can you kind of take us through that process?
From what I do know is they did try to set up all that shoring to gain access, make it as safe as possible for them, and then we were assisting them with many of our tools so they can get through a lot of the material there to get access to her.
Thank you very much and good work here.
Hey. Thank you very much. Meet you, photography.
Yeah. Great job.
What's up?
Great job.
But we'll see that here. They want to get a photo with the Canadians that have come to help them.
Thank you. Let's go get another one. Canadian. Go get another one.
That's the CBC's Briar Stewart in Turkey. It was one of many successful rescues today. Earlier, a 10-day-old infant was pulled from the rubble, and so too was a 4-year-old boy, along with a mother and her teenage son. Meanwhile, in Europe, crews are working to restore power across much of Ukraine after widespread missile attacks by Russia. Ukrainian officials say power facilities in 6 regions have been hit, forcing emergency shutdowns. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia launched about 70 missiles in today's wave, targeting civilians and infrastructure. Kyiv's mayor says air defenses shot down 10 of the missiles over the city. Residents took shelter underground and subway stations. Ukraine says several of the missiles flew through the airspace of Moldova and Romania, and that it's a challenge to NATO and to collective security. The U.S. military shot down an unknown object flying off the coast of Alaska today. White House officials say the object posed a reasonable threat to civilian aircraft. It's the second time in a week the U.S. has downed an object over American airspace. The last one was a suspected Chinese spy balloon. The Pentagon commented on today's event.
At the direction of the President of the United States, fighter aircraft assigned to U.S. Northern Command successfully took down a high-altitude airborne object off the northern coast of Alaska at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, within U.S. sovereign airspace over U.S. territorial water.
Officials say they expect they will be able to recover debris from the downed device faster than they were able to with last week's massive balloon. And Ethan is back with one last look at your weather and maybe another happy guarantee.
I think so, because I think we're going to see a very nice weekend here, Sam, with temperatures not getting very cold at midnight, just -1 in Regina. Winds still pretty strong out of the west, around 33 kilometers an hour or so. I seem to be having an issue with my clicker, so I'm going to step over here to advance the boards for you. There we go. In Regina tomorrow morning, we're looking at -5 with sunny conditions. And as we head into Saskatoon, there we are. Oh, no, actually, we're going to take a look at the noon forecast in Regina, where it is 0 and sunny. In Saskatoon, still quite nice at -1 tomorrow. And by 8 a.m., we're looking at -5 as well. And there we go. Saskatoon, looking at 0. Identical forecast. A taste of spring throughout Saskatchewan, Sam.
Technology on a Friday.
No
Thanks,
guarantees
Ethan.
with this.
Thank you.
You bet.
Before we leave you this week, the second annual hockey night on Wascana had some unexpected visitors this week. The game's meant for kids, but about 20 minutes in, the Regina Pats crashed the party on Wednesday. Nathan Claryhouse says it was an unforgettable experience for his 8-year-old.
We ended up going to the autograph session the night before, so he did get to meet them already, but to be able to play with them, it was a whole other league. It was something else. As soon as the Pats started coming down to the ice, the players kind of formed a line to where you would come in onto the rink, and they're all cheering, "Go Pats, go! Go Pats, go!" And then all the Pats players are skating by them, and then boom, they just all started playing hockey together, and there's just nonstop chatter, nonstop playing hockey. It almost seemed like also as well that all the kids started playing just a little bit harder, a little bit faster. It was something else.
And if you want to check out the Pats, they're back in action against Moose Jaw in Regina tomorrow night. Thanks for watching this week. Have a lovely night.